answers to years of questions, but she was about to lose her life for asking them. In the turmoil, Harlow's mind cycled over the shock of who was behind her. How could they do this to her? The darkness was creeping in. Her body twitched. The end was near. No one was going to save her. She'd brought this on herself. Thought was soon impossible as the world faded out. Harlow's head and shoulders were in the lap of her killer. Her death, while brutal and wretched, was soft and close to intimate. Then everything went black, and Harlow knew no more.
Chapter 2. Claudia. The room was comfortable. There were cushions to lean into or hold, an obligatory box of tissues on a small table to the side of the chair. In the corner was a shelf filled with teddies and dolls and other plastic bits for children of varying ages. What there was not was a clock. Time was carefully and discreetly tracked by the man in front of Claudia by the watch on his wrist. He was relaxed, lounging in the comfortable armchair that matched the one Claudia Nunn was sitting in. Claudia, on the other hand, was perched on the edge of her seat. Comfort was never a word she assigned to these meetings. A stereotypical tweed jacket was slung over the back of Robert's chair. There was a large diary closed on the desk. Robert was analogue in that way. Claudia herself kept a paper diary as well as a digital one, so she wouldn't miss an appointment. This had become a habit after missing a meeting with DCI Madison Sharp and the Police and Crime Commissioner one afternoon, and having a strip torn off her by her rather furious boss. Robert was still watching her. His attention never wavered. He was waiting for her to answer his question. She'd hoped with a little time he would have moved on, but he was stubborn like that. Claudia had been seeing Robert for 5 months now, ever since she'd killed a man. She'd been in a fight to the death and had been the one to walk away from it, for which she was eternally grateful, but she'd ended someone's life. Now that the shock had passed, it had begun preying on her mind, soaking up the edges of her days as she'd attempted to carry on as usual, distracting her. And she didn't want to be distracted when she was working, so she was getting the help she needed. At first, she'd told herself all was fine. The IOPC and CPS had cleared her of any wrongdoing. Her actions had been in self-defense. She'd had no choice. Seeing the light go out of his eyes, though, that haunted her. That dead stare. Where once he was a living, breathing human being, the next he was a corpse on the woodland floor. Of course, she'd seen death up close many times before. Being a homicide detective, you do. But it was completely different when you were the cause. Robert never pushed her. In fact, she often went off into her own head in these sessions. Maybe it was part of the therapy, to work through things silently for herself while he sat with her, keeping her safe. Safe. A strange word, but one Robert was adamant about using in here. Claudia didn't feel threatened. She'd killed the man who had been the threat to her, after all. But safe in here meant something else. It was about her mind. And here she was, wandering off into her own thoughts again, getting sidetracked while Robert waited patiently. "No," she said eventually, answering his question. Robert steepled his fingers. There was no notebook in his lap. He'd told her at the beginning of their sessions, when they first met, that he made notes as soon as the meeting was over, when it was all fresh in his mind, and that her notes were secure. No one would see them other than him. They were only created so he could see what therapeutic direction they were taking, where they had been, to assess how